if every thought feels like it's yours? What if none of them truly are? This single question destabilizes one of our deepest assumptions, that thinking is a personal act. From early education to modern neuroscience, we're told that thought reflects our individuality, our decision-making, even our moral standing. To think, we are taught, is to own the product of the mind. But what if thought does not belong to you in the way you imagine? What if consciousness is not a private chamber of ideas, but a mirror where reality itself speaks through countless forms, including the form you call yourself? This is not mere speculation. Modern neuroscience shows that most thoughts emerge automatically from complex brain networks, long before conscious awareness takes credit, and 7 centuries before cognitive science. Ibn Arabi, one of history's most profound metaphysical thinkers, claimed that every thought, no matter how fleeting or disturbing, carries a trace of divine communication. In this lecture, we'll explore what Ibn Arabi meant by the hidden truth behind every thought and how his forbidden teaching dissolves the illusion of mental ownership while deepening personal responsibility. We live in a civilization dominated by thought and yet paralyzed by it. Psychologists estimate that an average person experiences tens of thousands of thoughts per day, most of them repetitive. The brain's default mode network, responsible for maintaining self-narrative and temporal continuity, runs almost continuously, generating an internal monologue about who we are, what we lack, and what could go wrong. This relentless stream has consequences. It fuels anxiety, judgment, and an endless sense of self-monitoring. Many people attempt to manage this by suppressing negative thoughts or reinforcing positive ones, a cycle that often backfires. Studies in cognitive psychology, such as Daniel Wegner's ironic process theory, show that trying not to think a thought actually makes it stronger. The underlying assumption is that thoughts are possessions, that I think means I control. Ibn Arabi challenged this premise centuries ago. He taught that thought is not property, but participation, a wave in the ocean of consciousness. His forbidden insight was radical. If all things arise from the one reality, then so do thoughts. To claim exclusive ownership of them is to misunderstand their origin. But if thoughts are not mine, what does that mean for free will, ethics, and moral responsibility? That question defines the heart of our inquiry. Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi was born in 1165 in Andalusia and is widely regarded as one of the greatest metaphysical thinkers in human history. His works, particularly the Meccan Revelations and the Bezels of Wisdom, form an immense intellectual system that integrates theology, cosmology, psychology, and ontology. He described reality as an ongoing divine self-disclosure, known as tajalli. Everything from a galaxy to a passing thought is a manifestation of the real al-Haq, expressing itself in infinite forms. To Ibn Arabi, thought was not a private, cognitive event. It was a mode of revelation, a reflection of being within the mirror of human consciousness. Even the most trivial or contradictory idea, when observed correctly, could reveal the truth about the structure of existence. This insight was considered forbidden because it threatened the conventional boundaries between God and creation and between self and other. Yet, when examined rationally, it anticipates modern ideas of consciousness as a unified field, where mind emerges from being, not the other way around. In Ibn Arabi's metaphysical framework, the universe is not a collection of separate entities, but a living text, what he called the Book of Being. Every event, perception, and thought is one of its words. Just as light refracts into many colors without ceasing to be light, being expresses itself through countless forms of awareness, including our mental processes. Each thought, whether insightful or chaotic, represents a specific angle through which the real contemplates itself. From a neuroscientific standpoint, consciousness operates similarly. The brain functions as a dynamic system where neural patterns spontaneously arise and dissipate. What we call thinking is less a deliberate act than an emergent phenomenon. Psychologically, attempts to control thought intensify its presence. This is consistent with Ibn Arabi's perspective. Thought cannot be mastered because it never belonged to the self. The appropriate response is not suppression but recognition, perceiving each thought as a reflection, not a threat. Such recognition redefines freedom. Freedom is not the power to choose what to think, but the clarity to perceive what arises without distortion. Ibn Arabi frequently used the metaphor of the mirror. The heart or consciousness is a reflective surface upon which reality appears. The mirror itself produces nothing. It merely reveals whatever stands before it. The self's confusion begins when the mirror identifies with the images it reflects. It assumes ownership of what was only passing through. Modern cognitive science describes a similar dynamic through the concept of metacognition, awareness of thought without identification. Studies in mindfulness and attention regulation show that when individuals observe thoughts as transient, mental events rather than truths or commands, emotional regulation improves and cognitive clarity increases. This corresponds precisely to what Ibn Arabi meant by polishing the mirror. The clearer the reflective surface, the more faithfully it reveals the real. To purify. Awareness is not to erase thought, but to minimize distortion, to let truth appear as it is, without interference from personal bias or fear. One of Ibn Arabi's boldest claims is that opposites are not truly opposed. Good and evil, belief and doubt, love and fear, each exists only in relation to the other, forming a single dynamic whole. A negative thought, therefore, is not an error in divine expression. It is an incomplete perception. The mind labels, divides, and condemns. While being itself remains undivided, modern psychology offers a compatible insight. Intrusive thoughts, often considered pathological, are now understood as meaningful signals from the subconscious. In therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy, the goal is not to reject these thoughts, but to reinterpret their message. A fear-based thought, for instance, may reveal unmet needs or distorted expectations rather than moral failure. For Ibn Arabi, every dark impulse conceals a request from the real, an opportunity for deeper understanding. What makes the teaching forbidden is its challenge to moral dualism. To him, even error serves revelation, provided awareness interprets rather than reacts. Perhaps, Ibn Arabi's most scientifically resonant idea is that consciousness is not local, not confined to the brain or body, but a universal field through which experience arises. The individual self is a temporary locus of perception, a lens through which the one reality observes itself. This aligns with several modern theories of mind. Panpsychism, for instance, suggests that consciousness is a fundamental property of reality, not an emergent product of matter. Similarly, quantum models of consciousness hypothesize that awareness operates beyond spatial boundaries. Neuroscience provides indirect support. During deep meditation, brain imaging reveals a temporary deactivation of the default mode network, which generates the sense of I. Yet, awareness does not disappear, it expands. practitioners report a state of selfless observation, remarkably similar to Ibn Arabi's description of divine witnessing through the human form. In practical terms, to observe a thought without judgment is to experience this non-local awareness. The observer is not inside you. You are within the act of observation itself, because Ibn Arabi's teaching dissolves personal ownership of thought. It was easily misunderstood. Some critics feared it led to moral relativism. If all thoughts are divine, does that justify all behavior? Ibn Arabi explicitly rejected such conclusions. He taught that levels of perception must be distinguished. While all thoughts originate in the real, human beings interpret them through limited consciousness. Divine origin does not equate to divine approval. In Sufi ethics, this distinction is known as adab, right comportment. To know the source of thought should produce humility, not indulgence. Awareness of divine participation does not remove responsibility. It deepens it in cognitive terms. This parallels the principle of metacognitive regulation, understanding one's mental biases to act more wisely. Recognizing that thoughts arise automatically does not absolve us from choice. It refines our ability to respond intentionally. Thus, Ibn Arabi's teaching is not fatalistic. It is an invitation to align one's moral and cognitive functions with the deeper intelligence that gives rise to thought itself, to apply Ibn Arabi's insight today. We can translate his metaphysical language into cognitive practice. First, observation without ownership. See thoughts as appearances within awareness, not possessions of the self. Mindfulness and acceptance and commitment therapy both confirm that this stance reduces psychological suffering and improves emotional balance. Second, interpretation as meaning, not judgment. Rather than labeling a thought as good or bad, ask, what truth does this reveal about my current state of mind? In psychotherapy, reframing is one of the most effective cognitive tools for reducing anxiety and self-criticism. Third, alignment through intention. After observation and interpretation, the task is action, to live in coherence with the thoughts that express clarity and compassion. Neuroscientific studies show that sustained meta-awareness strengthens prefrontal regulation and integrates emotional and rational processing. Seen in this way, Ibn Arabi's forbidden teaching becomes a practical discipline of consciousness, a form of contemplative science that precedes modern psychology by centuries. It teaches not detachment from the world, but intelligent participation in the unfolding of being. Every thought you experience, noble or mundane, luminous or dark, is a reflection of the infinite passing through the human mirror. 2. See thought as divine self-disclosure, is to see struggling for ownership and begin to witness the intelligence of being itself. In modern psychological terms, this is the transition from identification to observation, from reactivity to awareness. Ibn Arabi's forbidden teaching, far from denying human agency, restores it to its rightful scale. You are not the author of thought. You are its witness, its translator, and its ethical participant. The question, why did I think this, becomes what is being revealing through this. At that moment, thought transforms from noise into revelation. The hidden truth behind every thought is the same truth behind all existence. There is only one reality: thinking, perceiving, and knowing through infinite forms, including the one listening right now.